Howdy and hello. We'll be ranking the best and worst items in the Redacted Regiment Warbond and Superstore. Let's go ahead and start with C4. You call it on a backpack, and you also get a detonator, taking up your support weapon slot. It comes equipped with 7 C4 in total, 6 in the backpack, and 1 in your hand. You have a throwing range of roughly 65 to 70 meters without wearing servo-assisted armor. You equip that, it goes even further. And once you dispense a bunch of pain putty, you can detonate it all at the exact same time. And that goes past just a single 7 sticks you start out with. You can keep resupplying and keep dispensing it all across the map and essentially beat the entire mission from the press of a single button, which is beyond wicked. To give you an idea of how powerful C4 is, imagine dynamite mixed with thermite. You don't have as crazy of an explosion radius, but it gets the job done. It takes out a whole bunch of Billy Bobs, troopers, and even Hulks that are sitting there having a seance. If they're too close, you can kill probably 3 or 4 in one satchel. And for the direct damage, it doesn't beat thermite as far as I'm aware in anything, but it keeps up pretty well. Some enemies take 2 thermites. The same applies to the C4. Folks may say you can simply use supply backpack with maybe ultimatum and thermites and get a far better effect, which might be true in some instances, but the thing that C4 does that they don't is give you the ability for essentially pure stealth. You can toss it on fabricators, toss it on enemies, toss it on objectives, and even if you aren't going for stealth, it does a crazy good job, and you still have your grenade slot open for whatever you want. This means you can take the extra grenade armor, and now you have 7 C4 and 5 thermites, or maybe 5 dynamites. You can get kind of ridiculous and go full demo man if you want. For those reasons, I believe it is honestly an S tier stratagem in general. I'll make a more detailed video on this soonish, but that's my current thoughts on it. Reduce signature armor passive. Wearer makes 50% less noise when moving. Reduces range in which enemies can detect the wearer by 40% as well. It is easily S tier, and it's not too much to explain about how it works. You're just harder to notice. For automatons, that is ridiculously good. You can get absurdly close to enemy encampments by simply crouch walking towards them. And if you go prone, you turn into a sneaky snake. Enemies simply don't know you exist. And it does give you the leeway of simply drawing attention, and they don't react as fast. And then you can maybe go behind a corner, and then they lose aggro. It is a very fun armor to use in that way. On bugs, it's noticeable, and for Illuminate, it's the make or break in the Snitchbot 9000, the flying prism that can call its homies on you, in detecting you, and snitching behind walls and buildings. So that's a pretty solid armor. And the main benefit is the fact in which both the passives are tied to stealth. Normally, armors have a passive that's good for what it's going for, and the other one's kind of just a random tie-in that may be useful and maybe isn't. In this case, they're both directly linked to making stealth more useful. Censor, one of the best marksman rifles the game has to offer. It's a suppressed diligence, but better in multiple ways, with some drawbacks though. You can one-shot every single automaton if you're playing on level 8 and higher difficulty, if you're in a certain range. If you're too far away, it does seem to have potentially worse drag, so bullets do less damage as they travel, and it for sure has worse bullet drop. But in most cases, you'll be close enough to where that shouldn't be a huge deal. And suppressor means you have a reduced sound profile. And it actually works, so they buffed those recently. You have way less recoil, and the ability for 30-round magazines, which your starting ergonomics aren't bad. And you can improve them by getting the angled foregrip as well. And some folks will like the 10x scope, but the aforementioned bullet drop and potentially increased drag will make that mostly a cosmetic choice. And when facing the bugs and the Illuminate, you have better knockback, better stagger. So bugs don't have the ability to simply jump on you and kill you, like hunters. And for the Illuminate, the no body cam having baton wielding freaking menace to society, that fella, once you break the armor and hit him in the flesh, will get knocked back. I may be a bit biased, but I believe Censor is an S tier weapon. And I do think they should probably give Diligence more durable damage and a 10x scope thanks to this addition, just to make it a bit more even. The pen would have been the best weapon in the Warbond, except they're not particularly useful in stealth operations, considering the loud noise it makes anytime you make contact with a dissident skull. Re-educator. It fires heavy pin darts that apply the caustic effect, confusing enemies for a very short duration. You get 60 damage, 6 darts in total with 2 spare reloads, which is not a whole lot if we're being completely honest. And it has a much quieter sound profile to suppressors apparently. The main usefulness of it is to simply shoot an enemy that's already chasing you, and have them turn around maybe. So a Hulk, for instance, now you can hit the weak spot and kill it there. If a charge is charging you, you can hit that and make it veer off course. But if it hits you while veering off course, it can still deal the same damage it would deal. It just hopefully won't drag you and insta-kill you. People are saying you can use it to kill a enemy that's chasing you and throw off all the folks behind it. I haven't seen that happen. And I've also maybe heard talks of simply shooting a Hulk, for instance, and that gets confused and no one else knows what's going on. That also hasn't happened. So maybe I'm doing it wrong, but it's kind of hard to give up your secondary considering how there are really good options for secondaries when this doesn't seem to really help with stealth gameplay or much of anything else. I've tried darting bugs calling in a breach, and they simply continue phoning in their homies as if the confusion means nothing to them. At least make a Wilbur suck the poison out or something, but in totality, I would give it D tier. If new things come to light in which it can be useful in multiple situations, I will rescind that ranking and go higher. Lure Mine. It's Super Earth's version of a monkey bomb. You toss it out, it attracts enemies for however long it lasts, although in this case, it only detonates once enemies set it off, which means you can put it on high ground, and most enemies do not have pinpoint accuracy, so they'll be sitting there shooting it for a very long time. And the mines themselves seem to have precedence over your sentries. This pairs extremely well with a Tesla tower. And by the way, the damage output and the anti-tank capabilities, those are neat, those are nice little things, but the damage is not that lucrative. And for the bugs, it's still decent, but they can burrow beneath the ground and detonate it. But on bots and Illuminate, it's freaking hilariously good. Maybe a little too good. I would say it's S tier. AR-59. If the goal is to model it after the base assault rifle, in this case the Liberator, this one does 10 less damage and it has more recoil, whereas the Censor does the same damage as Diligence, the base marksman rifle, and has less recoil. And the AR-59's only unique quality is a suppressor, which is cool, but if the goal of suppressors is to kill things quietly and quickly, you would just use the marksman rifle that does that in one shot when facing the best faction for suppressors and stealth gameplay, being the automatons. So this weapon is neat, but it's kind of worthless. I'll give it C tier to be nice. Concealed Insertion. A new booster, or the devs revealing they have more than just a grunt fantasy kink. You call down any stratagem, whether it's sentries, support weapons, or a mission stratagem, and that creates a smokescreen. It seems to be most useful when taking out encampments with an anti-tank emplacement, for instance, because that gets called down, and in this situation, they didn't attack me. I sat there blasting tank towers, fabricators, and nothing really was aware, and even began to snitch. So it's kind of cool in that really niche aspect. But aside from that, though, I can't really find a major use for it. Maybe you want to place down a sentry and give it time for enemies to run past it, so that could be a little interesting. I give it C tier though. Smokescreen. If you want to spend 300 super credits and get a smoke impact grenade giving you on-demand access to concealment that's decent, then go crazy. This is best used not when you're throwing it at your feet if things already know you exist. So for automatons, if you're getting shot at, don't smoke the feet beneath you. Instead, smoke between them and yourself. This will usually make the enemies stop shooting you, or the bots, and that's kind of cool. If you aren't detected already, you can smoke at your feet, and that seems to be pretty good. That's the main ways to use the smoke grenade, and the same thing also applies to the smoke screen stratagem stuff, but stratagems are a bit more difficult to toss down, and the beam attracts enemies. With the smoke, I believe you can smoke the beam, you can smoke the ground and then call in stratagems, and they shouldn't know what's going on. Or maybe you do the same ordeal where you call out a stratagem behind the smoke itself. I'm gonna test that. If it works out, you'll be seeing it on screen. I'd say it's around B, if not C tier. I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth it, but it's kind of cool if your goal is stealth. The symbol's S tier. The title itself is A tier. It would be S if it redacted your actual level. If it said level and then redacted. I won't be rating all the cosmetics, but I will say the armors are freaking godlike. These are genuinely some of the best armors the game has to offer. Shadow Paragon. It reminds me of Rambo. I think it was Rambo. When he's on the plane getting dropped off and he gets tangled up, has to cut himself free. And just honestly, most of these special operative outfits you see in movies and whatnot. So this is freaking sick. And then you have Null Cypher. It's a futuristic take on it, I think. And it goes really good with different armors, different capes. That's why I like the color scheme. gray and black. It's kind of hard to go wrong there. But they added so much detail in a way that just makes it look cool. In the Superstore, the Sanctioner reminds me of Star Wars, kind of. Don't know who exactly. Need to watch Star Wars again, honestly, to jog my memory. But that's like a Sith Lord helmet, if you ask me. Freaking genuinely awesome stuff. But I will say this Warbond is one of the best ones we've seen in a very long time. It may not be for everyone just because of the playstyle, but I'm just happy that it encourages the playstyle in a pretty good way. There is one aspect I don't love about it, which is essentially showing us that attachments are probably going to be mundane for a while. If they're going to be tying suppressors to a single weapon, grenade launch to a single weapon, as in the previous Python Commandos Warbond, we can't really expect anything cool for our already existing weapons for a while. Maybe ammo types might be a factor, but at the moment, that's the one thing I think is a little unfortunate. Still, if you're looking for a fun Warbond, a new way to play the game, this is your option for now. We'll see what the future holds. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, a like and a comment goes a long way if you would be so kind. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. Thank you, and have a good day.